Hello everyone and welcome back to the DCAF podcast. I'm your host Nigel Tommy, and today I'm joined, of course, by my two pals, Fuzzy and Charles.
Oh, that's a new one.
At this point I think I'd prefer interesting. Well, look, I do these intros almost the same way every single time. I gotta try and find new ways to make it interesting. Anyways, speaking of interesting, today we are joined by William Churchwad, the senior officer of the Duck Civilization Marine, also known as our Navy.
Yes, hello.
Right, now, I wasn't entirely sure what we would talk about in this episode. Besides, obviously the Navy, but the most interesting parts of the Navy, that being its history of the Duck States, we've already talked about, so I was a little worried. However, we do have some questions from the viewers that we can answer. Charles has those, I think.
Yeah, I have them right here.
Alright, so, shoot. Let's get these questions out of the way first.
Right, so the first question is, have we used the submarine blueprints?
Submarine blueprints.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. We were gifted some blueprints from Duckmany to make a submarine. Considering we don't have any of those, and they want to partake in some submarine warfare.
Well, how come you haven't built it yet?
Well, it's a little vague, that's one. And also we're not quite sure if we want submarines.
What do you mean you're not sure? They can be pretty goddamn useful.
Well, yes.
To be fair, I think the Navy is a bit more old-fashioned than the other parts of our forces.
Well, submarines aren't all that new. They've existed for a bit.
Yes, but still, we're not quite sure about it, I suppose. And also we have other things to do that we use our workshops and dockyards and shipbuilding areas for.
Like what? Building new ships? Don't make me laugh. You and I both know that there are no new ships being built.
Well, yes, that may be true, but we are restoring older ships.
I see.
So, the next question is a little, interesting to say the least, because I don't quite understand it. It says, does the DCM use ships from other navies or only from the DCAF?
Oh, hold on. Isn't the DCM like part of the DCAF? As we discussed in a previous episode, the DCAF stands for all forces of the Duck Civilization, naval included.
Yes. Hold on. Let me see that question. No, it does really ask if the DCM uses ships from other navies or just from the DCAF.
Well, I don't quite understand the question, but I think they're trying to ask if we use any ships that are not from the Duck Civilization.
I'd say you use more ships that aren't from the Duck Civilization than ones that are.
Yes, as most of our ships are either from the Foxlands or the Duck States. We don't really have any newer designs besides the gunboats and some very strange ships that were made by rookie recruits.
Were those other designers that you trialed before getting Welly?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, I assume why they didn't stick around.
But, yes, there have been talks of using ships from other countries, that didn't turn into the Duck Civilization.
Really now?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, those submarine blueprints came from Duckmany, and we're planning to get some civilian boats from Duckmany and then turn them into warships.
That sounds kind of silly.
It is, but it works, I suppose. And there have been talks of maybe getting Snowchester to build a ship for us, although nothing's really come of that.
I see. Well, were there any more questions?
Well, no, but there is one other thing which I have written down. And Nigel, you made a terrible, terrible mistake.
What did I do? I never make mistakes.
Way back when we talked about our enemies, you said Snowchester didn't have an air force.
Well, yes, because it doesn't.
It does.
Since when?
I think for a while now. It's just very, very small. It's like one guy.
So they don't have an air force, they have a pilot and a plane.
To be fair, I think that would count as an air force.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a thing like how many planes you need for something to become an air force.
Right. Well, let's get back to our main topic then. Because who cares if Snowchester has an air force or not? Because we're talking about the Navy. Which, Snowchester is actually kind of important for.
Yes, because they have quite the naval force, and that we're quite afraid of. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Snowchester's navy looks like a real force to be reckoned with.
Yes, indeed it is.
So, what kind of things do you have to counter that amazing navy from Snowchester, and also the threatening navy of Duckmany?
Well, we have gunboats, we have sents, and we have a few old ships from the Foxlands.
Okay.
And some very silly old designs from temporary designers.
Okay, so basically you're fucked.
Well, I wouldn't say that now. I think those ships from the Foxlands stand a good chance of fighting back.
Alright, well, what about those ships from the Foxlands then? Tell us a bit about them.
Well, we've got our Queen-class ships. They were used as defence ships. Not the biggest, but they got a lot of firepower.
How much?
Well, let's see. They've got 2 main guns, 4 smaller secondaries, and 4 even smaller secondaries.
So that's 10?
Yes, I think so, if I'm remembering correctly.
Now, what kind of caliber guns are we talking?
Well, the smaller secondaries are 6 spuds.
Unsurprising.
Then I think we have 12 spuds, maybe. Yes, I think there were 12 spuds. And then the main guns are 25, I think. I'm not that kind of into the numbers, but yes, they're fine ships.
What about the rest?
Well, the rest we still kind of need to repair and restore because a lot of them have been just sitting there and rusting away.
To
be fair, the Foxlands Navy didn't really get any time to shine. No, it did not, sadly.
What was that like, the Foxlands Navy? Because you've been around for that.
Yes, as I am the senior officer. But, yes, there's not much I could say about it, really. We did naval exercises, and that is about it. I think our ships would be decent in battle, but we never really got the chance to try that. Of course, long, long ago, the Foxlands Navy was quite good, but those times have long passed.
How long ago are we talking?
Well, let's just say, they were sail ships.
Oh, I see, yeah. That is very long ago.
Yes, of course, some of us in our Navy plan to restore that kind of power, but, I'll be completely honest, I don't really see that happening anytime soon. Maybe someday, yes, but not now.
Yes. I have to say, William, at least your expectations for the Navy are realistic. I think Mike is a bit too enthusiastic, has a bit too much confidence, I hope.
Well, if anything, his confidence and hope are a good thing. I wouldn't want all my boys in the Navy living in doom and gloom because their general says, oh, well, we don't stand a chance. We're going to go out there and die.
Which is exactly what you're going to do.
Well, once again, I wouldn't say that, but I definitely think it's going to be a tough battle. I like to remain cautiously optimistic with our Navy.
I see.
Well, what are some of the other people in the Navy like?
Well, you've got Mike, who was here a few episodes ago. You know what he's like. He's very, very enthusiastic. Very much ready to show the world the might of the Duck Civilization Marine. He definitely thinks we can make it one of the most powerful navies in the world, because we've got roots in both the amazing Falklands Navy, although the time of that being amazing was years ago, ages ago in fact, and we've got roots in the Duck States Navy, who, despite their flaws and them losing a war, was still quite good.
Yes, as discussed in the previous episode with Mike.
Then we have Welly, of course, our ship designer, although maybe I should put that in air quotes, since he is, well, he calls himself an inventor. He makes all kinds of wacky stuff. Some of his machines and contraptions are quite silly, but I like him. He's a fine chap, even if he doesn't really get the job done.
And, as said in a previous episode, you haven't replaced him yet, despite him not doing his job, because there's nobody else.
Exactly. I definitely think he can design some good ships once he actually gets around to it.
I see.
In the previous episode, Arthur Hugh mentioned you also have planes.
Yes, we do in fact have an aircraft carrier, although I think we may have lost it. But it does exist somewhere in the world.
Ah, I see.
And so we have a little bit of our own air force who can go around and do aerial attacks on enemy ships or coastal defense. Although we're really waiting for Mitchell to design a dive bomber before we can actually make that happen.
Yeah, I don't think taking off with MBPs from that shitty aircraft carrier is a good idea. I'm willing to bet the aircraft carrier can't hold the weight of an MBP, Charles.
Maybe you should try and get a better aircraft carrier.
Yes, maybe we should. Well, back to talking about the people of our navy. Finally, we have Donald. He's a fine lad. Not really cut out for battle, but he tries his best. Not much to say about him, really.
I see. Well, I think this is it.
Yes, I'm afraid I've got not much else to say, really.
Yeah, I kinda hoped you'd talk more about the history of the Falklands Navy, but there's not much to say there.
No, as Charles said, we weren't really that active. We didn't do all that much.
So, I guess that ends this episode.
Yes, we'll have to see how short this one will be. But yes, thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you liked this episode, leave a like, comment for any questions, requests for topics, so on and so forth. If you've seen any episode, you know how these outros go. Do we know what the next episode is going to be about? No, we don't, Charles. But who knows, maybe someone will leave a comment, and then we'll be inspired to know what we'll talk about in the next episode of the DCM podcast.
I see. Well then, got any final words, chaps?
Well, thank you, William, for being on the podcast with us.
Oh, it's no problem. You know, I don't get out much, but this is a nice change of pace.
Right, now if you'll excuse me, I think I'm going to go outside, because I've been secondhand smoking this entire time.
Oh, come on, Fuzzy, smoking's not that bad. I mean, look at me. I'm totally fine.
Oh dear God! Wait, William, are you alright? Medic!